All right, great news, everybody. Jim, who I often co-host the Vortex Nation podcast with, has been cheating on me. Now, you might know Jim spends an awful lot of time over at Vortex Edge. Now, Vortex Edge, that's our in-house firearms and training facility where we have a team of professional instructors who conduct all sorts of in-person firearms-related classes, from carbine classes to pistol classes to home defense. They cover it all. Now, there's no substitute for in-person training, but how do you scale it? How do you get all this amazing knowledge these instructors have out to the masses? You do that by starting the Vortex Edge podcast. That's right. Jim's been cheating on me by starting a whole nother podcast, the Vortex Edge podcast. It launches January 19 of 2023. You can check it out on all the major podcast platforms. You can check it out on the Vortex Edge YouTube channel. It's got a ton of great information. I suggest you give it a listen, whether you're ultra experienced or just getting started in your firearms journey. There's something for everybody. Check it out. Don't quit checking out the Vortex Nation podcast, but also check out the Vortex Edge podcast. And we're now back to our regularly scheduled programming.
It's really nice to have these mid-mag optics because they kind of provide, again, universal. They kind of flirt in between all of the things that you'd want to do with it.
What is up, everybody? Got a pretty full house today, Jim. Jim to my right. Welcome.
I'm here.
And across from us, we have Chris and Liam. So usually it's kind of like a 2-on-1. It's 2-on-2. I don't like how evenly matched it is right now, Jim. I like to have that advantage. I also don't like that I really don't have access to the three sweet firearms that are on the table here. Like I feel like the advantage is also to
everyone
be
else
across the table, which I will mention. Bolts are back, mags are out, everything's empty. So, all those things.
Yep. For the 3 people that might have commented. Yeah. Now we can save the comment section.
Well, it saves them time, too. That's a time saver.
It is, yeah. Go to another video to comment on that.
Yeah. We're talking...
save it.
We're talking about one of my favorite things today, Jim. Mid-Magnification Riflescopes. What, you're looking at me with like a level of skepticism right now.
Yeah, I am.
Why?
Because you're not fooling anyone, Mark. You've been podcasting here for the last, 5 years? Everyone knows you like high mag rifles.
All of it.
No.
All of it. As big as it comes. Oh, what do you guys offer a 3 to 18? Oh, there's a 5 to 25? Yeah, never mind. Forget the 3 to 18 might as well not exist.
No, that's you labeling me.
That's,
Are you?
is what it is.
Yeah. Because I love mid-mag riflescopes. That's what's on most of my guns are mid-mag riflescopes. Why? Because I find them so damn versatile.
Well, okay then.
One could say universal.
Yes, exactly. I think they do all the things pretty darn good. So I'm also going to, Liam, so it's been a minute since we've had you on the podcast. Chris, actually, it's been a minute since we've had you two. So for everybody listening who may not be familiar with Liam and Chris, we'll go my right to left. Liam, just give us a brief little hit, who you are, what you're up to.
Yeah, I'm Liam. I'm a product manager in marketing, and I mostly handle all of the tactical stuff, red dots, LPVOs, mid-mag stuff, and even the higher mag stuff as long as it kind of falls out of the hunting world. Just from my background, I have a lot more experience in that area, so I've been really fortunate and trusted to kind of, take care of all those products, and it's really fun. So,
awesome, Mr. Chris.
Hey guys, my name is Chris, and I've been at Vortex now for 2 years and a couple months. I've got time with guns like this for the better part of almost a decade and a half. Military time and law enforcement time. I spent a lot of time on a SWAT team in Charlotte, where we ran guns like this, and So I've been here instructing full time for two years plus now. Yep.
Awesome.
We got to describe the guns on the table too here real quick for those who are just listening right now, because we have actually, basically, hey, brought to you by the folks at Daniel Defense. Not actually, these are personally
Totally
owned guns by
coincidental.
Liam and Chris, but they are big fans. And there's a bolt-action rifle here with a pretty exciting scope on it. There's also an AR in 18-inch fashion with the same pretty exciting scope on it. We're going to get into that. And then you also have a 16-inch
16-inch,
AR
yeah.
with, is that a Razor 1-10 on it?
It is,
Chris?
yep.
So, that's kind of, it starts on the low power end, but it goes up to the mid-mag end, which is kind of interesting, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But the two ARs, I would say, fall within the category that, some of those who are in the realm of the tactical world and they know all the acronyms and things would call an SPR or a DMR, which is special purpose rifle, and designated marksman rifle.
Correct. Yep.
Even I get mixed up in the alphabet soup, but there's special in the name, there's designated in the name. These are very exclusive terms. These imply sort of like one specific application maybe, and the optics that you have on top of them, I think, are very much within that same package. If somebody hears the term SPR or DMR, they oftentimes will think of a relatively mid-mag rifle scope, something with, you see here on this, I'll just say it, it's the Strike Eagle 3-18. It's got a tall elevation turret. It's got some of the more long-range accoutrement, if you will, but it's smaller and lighter weight, and therefore it fits better on top of an AR. Maybe not, better is not necessarily the right word because, anything can fit on an AR, but it is easier to carry around and a little bit more slick, so to speak. So I think the question we're going to get at is, are these really special purpose rifle scopes? Do they kind of only have one niche, whatever? Or are they more universal, like Chris used the term? Do we want to create a new rifle, the Uper? The universal purpose rifle.
Yes, you heard it here first, folks. The Uper.
Comes with an accent and everything.
Yep.
An accent, a lot of maple syrup.
It is interesting, though, because you bring up, Jim, like, I guess the applications where they're used with these exclusive names, but also it kind of contradicts how universal and versatile.
Well, and I think the whole point, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because, Chris, you've got experience actually using these in some sort of a tactical role that, wasn't just sort of LARPing and stuff. And Liam, you've had more experience around companies that have sold these types of items too. But like the guy the person carrying this is sort of intended to be a little bit of a do-it-all person, right?
Right. So the very first introduction to like the Mark 12 type of SPR kind of setup that I had was I was part of a two-man team that went to Afghanistan in 2004, and so just because I was like the boot in the team or the newer guy, I got handed basically what was an 18-inch M16, a Knight's gun with a what was at the time an LVPO. You know what I mean? So it was my first ever introduction to magnified optics, and I was like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like I had just been shooting iron-sighted guns through boot camp, and we were issued 8 cogs when we got to the fleet, and fixed power 1-4 optic. So to have that be the first gun and kind of just like, here, go learn this and be good at it, it was kind of a trial by fire a little bit. But in any case, it did give us a little bit more of a capability. So it allowed us to stretch the capability of an accurized like 77-inch grain 5.56 cartridge. It let us group them a little tighter and maybe reach out a little further than we would have with just regular M855, 5.56, the 62 grain steel penetrator bullet. But I was actually pretty impressed with those guns, and it did increase our capability overall, I would say. And then kind of the graduation of that is when our team came back from Afghanistan. Those guns kind of stuck around, but they weren't necessarily the assistant team leader gun. They just, like, the team size increased prior to our next deployment. So it was just kind of like one of those things that just one of the guys had. I remember like a couple of our radio guys had them just to be able to like talk and be able to engage things at longer distance with the 5.56, and also like talk to air or other assets. But it was a gun that just one of us had in our little 6 to 8 man team. You know what I mean? It wasn't really like, oh, don't forget the SPR. Like, we have to have that. Like, no, like, guys, it became more, the focus became more on like making sure that this was out on a patrol with us than just, dude, everyone has to have an M4. Like a couple of us have to have 203s, and like everyone just needs to be a shooter at some point. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of what the fight was for us. Kind of circa 2005. Like we just need guns in a fight. Doesn't have to be like something like this. And plus we were like fighting in cities and and doing all sorts of stuff. So the need for like like an 18 power, 15 power really quite wasn't there. But we had them because sometimes our missions included like watching main roads, right, and making sure that people were replacing IEDs. So yeah, it was really nice to be able to have something like this kind of out there to kind of complement like a really accurate bolt gun that had something with a much higher magnification on it. So
interesting. So like in some ways, like the application was more specialized in a way because it was less needed, but like often needed, I guess.
Well, that's kind of the funny thing about anytime you have something that's universal. I think of, well, hey, we did a tires podcast, and we go back to, we were talking about all-season tires, which are basically no-season tires, because they were like okay at everything, but not really good at anything. And so I'm not obviously saying that about a brand new optic of ours. I'm not saying that it's okay at everything and not good at, but that would be foolish. But I think that anytime you have something that's super universal, it's kind of like there will be, it's undoubtedly so, that there will be other things that are better at, if you're in a city, we're talking very sort of mil-LE tense here right now, but if you're in a city, a red dot is going to be or a holographic sight, whatever it is going to be far more intuitive, easy to use in those close quarters than will be a 3-18 with maybe, now granted you do have a red dot, which is offset, which I think is like the total right way to run this Strike Eagle 3-18 on an AR like this, and we can get into that too. But it's just a little bit, it's a little heavier, it's a little longer, stuff like that. But also then all of a sudden, let's say you come to, I don't know, I'm making up a situation in my head, but you come to city limits, you come to a main road, you come to whatever, and all of a sudden you have a much more greater expanse. That's where you're like, oh shoot, this red dot was awesome until now.
Right.
Meanwhile, the guy who's got the universal application is kind of like, you know what, I had to deal with this during that time. But now we find ourselves in a situation where you guys are all with your really specialized equipment. You're all like, oh, we're kind of up a creek a little bit.
Right.
And now I'm okay. So you're always sort of feeling all right.
Yeah. And, now you fast forward, like I talked about like my time, like in the Middle East, right? But if you fast forward, now you enter into my SWAT time, like between like 08 and let's say 14, where, I had to I was on the hook for watching the perimeter of a house, making sure that, no one was escaping or no one was trying to get in while the guys were making entry. And specifically like in support of like active shooter situations where now I have to provide long cover for elements that are dumping in the rooms and clearing kind of as we go, or if we're moving to contact and suddenly like we have a very finite target that presents itself. And dude, those guys are like, a lot of times are looking at you like, hey, you need to step up here and maybe take this shot. Not to say that, someone with like a magnifier and a red dot can't take a shot like that, but man, it's really nice to have this capability kind of organic to a team that's going into that situation, right? And then you're the guy, you post up and you take that really accurate shot with something, like a 3-8, a 3-18 like we have here. It's a very nice capability to have. It's actually very comforting. You know what I mean? And so you yourself accept that. Now, could you just dial this thing 3 power and just look for color if a target presented itself? And by color, I of course refer to the red in the illuminated reticle. Like, could I just at like 5 yards and in just see red out of that reticle and engage? Absolutely. You know what I mean? I trust myself. I know that the guys out there can do that. But having the ability to magnify and ramp up magnification so I can take maybe a longer shot, more precise shot in support of that kind of operation, I think is huge. And I think that's what we're seeing more and more these days, like just the need to be able to support, the assaulters, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it comes back to kind of the role of the DMR, the designated marksman,
right,
in its in a squad anyway, right? Like,
right.
the big difference between a sniper and a DMR is a sniper is working a very specific job, has very different skills, where a designated marksman is attached to a unit and they're providing cover. They're providing effective fire longer than, the normal squad guys. So they're, able to engage 600 yards, 300 to 600 yards, something like that. And just giving accurate, repeatable fire. And that's kind of the difference between something like this and the Razor, right? Like the reticle is such a huge advantage in something like this, where you have a much more complex reticle that provides really accurate holdovers, windage holdovers, things like that. Whereas this is more of a, kind of CQB fighting rifle type thing, where it's pretty much oriented to fast firing in speed. So,
and by this, Liam's talking about the 1 to 10 versus the 3 to 18.
And I mean, it's been shown that you can run these guns as guns pretty hard across the board, up close and pretty far away. But I mean, the different applications and the different magnification levels that are available in the two optics, I think make them kind of unique to each other.
One of the things that maybe gets overlooked too is, now I realize the size difference is notable, but folks overseas and domestically have been running fixed power 3, 4, 5, 6, 7x optics for a long time, and they run them on 14 5-inch guns, and they run them in close proximity to their targets. And like I said, usually those are shorter and squatter in terms of length. They're not maybe hanging out over the handguard a little bit like you have with a rifle scope. But here you have the ability to go down to 3 power, and then with that offset red dot, you have something very similar to like what a lot of people run with the fixed power optic.
Right.
But you can just you can vary it. You can pick and choose it. And so, if anybody is able to run those things quite quickly, and even with their usually compromised when it comes to eye relief and eye box and all that stuff, I mean, these have really forgiving eye relief, really forgiving eye box, and you can still run that red dot with it too. So,
and I think the ability to be dialed in, like say, I wouldn't be on a perimeter, right? Like dialed up all the way. I would be trying to keep like my guys and like the door and like more information available to me. So enter 3 power. I mean, I think it's golden. You know what I mean? I remember finding myself like on a perimeter and being only having 4x available, and it's like, dang, dude, this might be a little hot right now. You know what I mean? So having the 3 and the red dot is huge. And say like a really precise target does present itself, and I dial up, but then like dude moves, and now he's like running down an alley or something. I can quickly transition, and having options like that is just huge. I was always about having options, man. I can't have too many options. You know what I mean? So the red dot offset with the magnification level that is available in that 3 to 18 is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think, as far as this new optic, the Strike Eagle 1 3 to 18, it's a first focal plane optic, which really helps for the having those subtensions correct all the way through the magnification. And then also having exposed elevation turret.
That locks.
Yes. Again, kind of made for a very quick adjustment, super fast and accurate adjustments as well on the fly. So you have kind of 2 options to quickly make an adjustment. If, say, that person is moving further away from you, you can use your reticle, or you can actually dial. And it also has parallax. Another thing that most LPVOs don't have. Just those big differences. This is much more designed for something of a precision use, but the weight and the size kind of lend itself more towards being dynamic, as I like to think of it. And by dynamic, I mean not on a bench, not just shooting groups from the bench. This is really made for hard use, run and gun type of stuff. But when you need to stretch out further than maybe what you're comfortable with the LPVO, it gives you a lot of options and a lot more capability.
Well, that's why you guys cap the windage too on this one. I mean, the Strike Eagle 5 to 25 has both exposed elevation and windage turret, and that's because it is much more of like a...
That are locking.
Yeah, they are locking. But, that's much more of a in the prone, on a bench type gun, more stationary, whereas this thing, being that you're going to be moving it around a little bit more, we save some weight. We save some, I don't know what the word is, width, I'll just say.
It's streamlined.
It's more streamlined. You don't have to worry about, even though the turrets are locking, let's say you popped them out to make an adjustment, you didn't pop it back in, you just don't have to worry about that at all. With the windage turret, it's more of a set it and forget it. It's everything about this scope was designed to be more of that universal application. I shouldn't have brought in the all-season turret. It's far different than all-season turret. It's way better than that. So much better.
You were clamoring to get some sort of car. It's been a while.
I know,
Jim.
I did, and then it's coming back to bite me in the butt because it's so much better. But it was designed around a much more universal application.
And I think the only thing really that quote makes this, that makes this optic quote tactical is the reticle, but this would be a fantastic hunting scope too. I mean, it's pretty lightweight, has all the features that you'd want, good magnification range for Midwest Western type hunting, and the illumination is really bright, so it's going to be, I think, a pretty good hunting optic too.
For sure. I mean, that 3 to 18 meg range to me is just like a super sweet spot. I mean, even when I've shot my quotation mark longer range stuff, which, 7, 8, 9,000 yards, oftentimes even at 1,000, like I find myself, I'm backed off on 18. So like, I love that as a top end, but with that low end of 3, like you guys are talking about the field of view that you get, if you need to be watching multiple things at once, potentially.
That's not at all really that dissimilar from what Chris was describing. You're talking about hunting scenario. I mean, you want to be able to see a lot through the optic to be able to just get a point of reference or even just understand where you're at once you look through that rifle scope. But what was I thinking about? We were just talking about in a hunting application, and is it related to that? Can you believe I was thinking about hunting stuff?
I know. That's kind of why I'm at a loss right now, Jim.
Yeah, that must be why it escaped me so easily too.
Take it back. Like,
Your brain's like, I don't need this.
Yeah,
Gone.
yeah.
Get rid of
that
it.
Must be it. I'm sure it'll come back to me.
But yeah, I mean, this does fit so well on an AR. Like not even particularly, but like coyote hunting or something like this. It'd be money, man.
I remember it wasn't about hunting, Mark. Sorry, it was about another thing that we've tried once and we weren't exactly amazing at. It was PRS shooting and competition long range shooting. I think we've said this before on the podcast, so not to be like a broken record, but a lot of these competitive shooters out there, they'll have something like, the 4.5 27. Of course, now there's a 6 to 36, and you have all of that top end magnification. But really often, I think there's even been surveys done where people ask competitors what magnification they spend the most time on, and I think it is right around 18 power. It's like 14 to 18 power, because if you magnify a target 18 times, that's considerable. A steel target or something like that, some 20-inch target at 1,000 yards. It's a classic distance, of course, to talk about in long range, but that's a lot of magnification with the reticle that you have in there. It's, plenty finite to be making really, really accurate engagements at distance. So this thing just straight up as a long range rifle scope, even if you are looking for something to shoot long range, but you're like, either it's to save a couple bucks, I don't know, over the 525, or it's to save weight. Certainly you're going to do that. Size and weight is, I'd say, the biggest savings you're going to get over going up to the 525. And you want it to be, hey, I want to be able to hit the range. I want to be able to go hunting with this rifle because I got a really nice shooting 6.5 Creed or 308 that I know I can go hunting with, but I can shoot precision stuff with. Then instead of getting 2 rifles or having 2 different optics that you're switching out and zeroing with different ammo and all that stuff, and every time you take it on and off, you got to re-zero it. Instead of doing that, you get this thing, and you can do everything with it. It's just, that's so nice.
Well, and you're like, the 525 is a little bit more expensive, but to me, it's like I'm actually getting more for less because I value me personally, right? But I value that low end of 3 more than the high end of 25.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very nice, man.
We've
got a 6.5 ADM gun.
Sorry, 5 to 25.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
I'm sorry.
I'm shocked.
I'm sorry you had to find out this way.
The 5 to 25 will definitely leave you a bad review or comment on this.
Yeah. Swiping left on Mark.
Yeah,
5 to 25 is.
But we've got an ADM gas gun down there that shoots 6.5, and we regularly take that thing out to 1250. But all of us across the board, if you look at our glass, it's only dialed up to like 15, 18 power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think... I just don't like being able to appreciate how, like, much my high blood pressure is affecting the optic on 25x.
Sometimes
it's like
too much.
Yeah, it's like this is not gonna be a good shot. So I just back it off, man, and suddenly like my wobble zone doesn't seem so sucky. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I agree,
I
man.
prefer less mag because I want to feel better about myself.
Yes,
there you
exactly.
go. You brought up an interesting point about the low-end magnification mark, which is something I think a lot of times people always ask when they look at a rifle scope. They're like, well, how high can it go in magnification? How high can it go? How high can it go? And they don't always think about how low can it go. You know, so you get, whether it's when you go out and you look at a 3-9 versus a 4-12, you know, it's just a straight-up regular hunting optic. And they're like, well, the 4-12 can go up to 12, so I want that one. And I get 3 and 4 on the low end aren't a huge difference, but, I mean, I think I can tell a bigger difference going from 1x to 2x, 2x to 3x, 3x to 4x. I can tell a bigger difference between, I guess, 1x magnification at the low end than I can going 22 to 23x. If somebody goes like, okay, close your eyes, open them, that's 22x. Close your eyes, open them, that's 23x. I'd be like, they look the same. It'd be like the Office meme. It's the same picture. But when you do that on the low end, you're like, oh, no, that's notable. Mm-hmm. We went from 2 to 3. It seems more considerable. So when you go like from being able to only go down to 5x to being able to only go down to 3x, you're like, oh, yeah, I can actually see a good bit more. And
yeah, your field of view is going to be a lot wider too, and you're not going to have, as you dial up on those high magnification optics, the amount of light you're getting into the optical system just decreases too. So it's really nice to have these mid-mag optics because they kind of provide, again, universal. They kind of flirt in between all of the things that you'd want to do with it, and it kind of accomplishes a lot of the things, right? So on a 16 to 18 inch gun, it kind of fits perfectly.
It certainly doesn't look out of place either. You know what I mean? Like it's just like you said, it fits really good. And we've been talking about dialing and long range. The top end of 18 to me very adequate for long range stuff. 34 millimeter tube on this guy, immense amount of travel.
A lot of travel
for dialing.
Yep.
It's usually nice for the type of guns it's going on.
Well, it gives you a lot more range, right? Like if you can put it on something like this 223 gun and shoot 62 all the way up to 77 grain just fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This team group's nice at 100 yards, especially like it shoots way better suppressed. But that's probably another topic. But you can go all the way. I mean, like I said, we throw this thing on 6.5s, man, and just ding and steal at 1250 almost effortlessly. You know what I mean? It's
the
just
6.5 gas gun has definitely changed things a lot. Like the amount of travel I'm thinking is really nice on a 223 and a 308. Getting out to those near 4-figure distances, and of course now there's 6.5 Creed gas guns that run really well. And you're like, okay, well, yeah, the extra travel is still just a really nice thing, but it is pretty impressive how far you can get with those. They look good on both guns too, Liam.
Yeah,
yes,
they do.
Agreed.
For sure. And especially like for a caliber like 5.56, your drops past 300 to 400 yards start getting exponentially larger. So having a ton of travel really helps for dialing out those different distances for sure. Yeah, and then on the bolt gun, it sits tall enough on there, clear the bolt. It's just a 16-inch 308, so it kind of doesn't fall in the typical DMR. Most DMRs are gas guns, but I think this is a great example of something that kind of fits a crossover, sort of like the optic. It's a 16-inch bolt gun, small enough. It's not light, but it's small enough and maneuverable enough to kind of be that dynamic shooter, move around. But it has the capabilities to reach out at really great distances, so it's a super accurate rifle.
Yeah, that thing for like a police application, in my experience, would be like ideal. You know what I mean? Like if you can get the reliability and accuracy out of a 16-inch platform with a 3 to 18 on it, I think it's money.
Yeah.
Especially any kind of like urban or suburban environment, it's gonna be perfect.
Maneuverable. It's small, concealable, so you don't you can like hide it in the pack and just go about your business and build your hide or whatever you're doing, and I think it's great, man.
Yeah, sure. Especially with 3 on the low end of magnification.
Oh, for sure, man.
Have a lot of
you can see so much. Yeah.
This one comes with a throw lever, right? just like the
Yes.
3D18 does, just like the 5-25
Yep.
comes with throw lever.
Yep.
Which, when you've got that really flexible 3D18 power, again, is really nice to be able to do so quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I like about, I was going to comment on this maybe later, but like it offers you enough resistance to where like the wind isn't going to blow it out of magnification wherever you have it set up, but it's also, it gives you really smooth travel all the way through your magnification range. Mm-hmm. I actually really like it. You know what I mean? It's very user friendly. It's easy to kind of run magnification up and down, and yeah.
And then the other cool thing that it comes with is a rev stop system. So that just helps you when you're dialing a lot, helps you return to zero, doesn't let you go past. So it does, again, it's taking all of those considerations for precision long range shooters and kind of just shrinking the package down and making it lightweight and maneuverable. And that really helps, kind of the everyday kind of person shoot better and at longer ranges.
Yep. So what I'm doing now is like I'm dialing all the elevations. I've got like I don't know 20, 30 mils
45.
up. Yep.
45.
Wow. And so now, I'm all the way up there, and like, how do I return to zero? Well, like Liam was saying, the rev stop just allows you to just turn until you get to 1 mil below zero, and then you just dial up your mil back up to zero, and you lock it down. You're back at zero, just like that. You know what I mean? It's
1 mil or
very easy.
0.5, Liam?
Or it's 0.5, yeah.
0.5.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
So 0.5, yep.
Clarification.
Yep.
What,
but it's very, very nice.
I do
man.
love that rev stop. It's so easy. It's so easy.
So easy to set, and it's really lightweight.
And dare I say it's marine proof as far as installation goes. Like, it tells you how to do it on the rev
That's
stop
part of the
itself.
reason we keep you around, Chris.
Thank you. Yeah, to test.
Well,
product.
I mean, it's like
Instructions written in crayon.
Insert turn to right. Tell stop. I mean,
like
it even says it on the actual piece itself.
And you don't use too many words because few words do trick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is. Everything that happened with this scope is like when we've talked about lightweight hunting with Lightweight Dave. It's like he went in and did what he does to his pack to this scope. Because you ask a shooter, hey, for an all-around application, do you really need to have this exposed windage turret? Yes or no? And then you're like, really prod them. And they're like, no. Okay, we're going to cap it. Do you really need over 20x magnification? No. All right, we're going to cap it at 18. You just like find what you can make do with, and that's what you have there, which is really slick. I'm curious what you guys think, because we have the Razor 1 to 10 on the table. We've alluded to it a couple of times because it's in sort of almost... It's almost like a between mid-mag rifle scope and low-power variable optic, because it sort of does both.
Yeah.
It's got its foot in both camps.
Can I back you up?
It does.
Can I back you up one sec,
You may.
Jim, about things that you might not need? It's got it's got a 44 millimeter objective on it.
Oh ho ho.
Which I think a lot of people got to have that 50. Which I have scopes. I have a lot of scopes that have 50.
I know you do.
What I mean?
You love that 50.
But again, it was an area where they were able to streamline just the form factor of the scope and probably shave some weight.
And especially on something that is going to sit most likely on a gun like this, having a huge objective bell means you have to have super tall mounts. And tall mounts, I think, are great for red dots and things like that. But when you really want to get in the prone or do some precision work, having that optic as low to the bore is a lot more favorable.
And before someone asks if we're going to come out with a 50 millimeter version, do realize that optical engineers go through and they optimize the entire thing. There's more than 2 lenses in this rifle scope. So they optimize the whole thing inside to work with the 44 millimeter objective, such that if you were to just slap a 50 millimeter objective onto everything all else similar, it would be worse. It would literally make it worse. So I'm saying that because, okay, if you're like, all right, we need a 50 millimeter because I don't care and I just need more light, whatever, then that would take an entire redesign, and your end result really may not be any different at all. These things are very much optimized. So I think that's just an important thing to note, because that objective lens size, in this case, we knew you kind of go into an optical design knowing things that you want. If you want a shorter, smaller, more svelte scope, you're like, okay, we know we want to hit that 44 millimeter objective size. We design everything else kind of around that and a few other fixed parameters, So it is what it is because it works really, really well. I just like to throw that in there because I figure, you know, if you can answer some of the comments before the comments happen, then talk about efficiency.
Preemptive comment strike.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Whoa.
Can I go on to the Razor 1-10 thing?
Please do, because
I'm curious what you guys think. The 3-18 that you have mounted up on this Mark 12, I'll get into the Mark nomenclature, is...
That's MK, not MARK.
Right, but if you say MK12, then you're going to get made fun of.
Canceled.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
right.
Don't say that.
Mark 12. I'll say it. So it's a Mark 12. So the 3-18 that you have mounted up on that rifle, it's an 18-inch AR for those who are, again, just listening. You have it mounted up with that offset red dot. Kind of talked about that a little bit. You can cant the gun, boom, red dot. I mean, and it is just, you cant the gun a little bit, and granted, it takes a little getting used to how the gun is positioned, but it's a red dot. It's right there. You use it like a red dot. So you sort of have, with some asterisks attached, you got 1 power with your red dot, and then you have 3-18. So you don't have 1-18. You have 1 and then 3-18. Whereas with the Razor 1-10, of course, we've got a little bit shorter, a little bit smaller rifle scope still, but you have 1-10. What do you guys think is causing someone to choose one over the other? I realize there's a lot of variables at play with that question because you got different reticles, you got sort of different things going on, but what do you think?
I think it's a lot to do with the objective of how you're going to shoot the gun. You know, I think more people would go to the 1-10 who want to buy one optic, because when you go to this setup, you're buying 2 optics, you're buying 2 optic mounts.
Yep.
So price and costs and gathering materials, you know, that's time and money, and that's a different factor. And I think if you want to kind of be like one and done, I want to get all of the things that I think I need for what I want to do, i.e. shooting up close and then at a little bit of range, you know, this is probably your go-to, right?
The 1-10.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot shorter in length. It's not that much lighter, but it's, you know, it's because the 1-10 is a little bit chunky.
It's chunky,
but I mean, for good reason, right? It's super bomb-proof, you know, things like that. There's always a give and take, but you know, as far as the 3-18 with the red dot, if you plan on having your rifle set up to shoot distance and shoot precision more often, I think that's your go-to, because you're probably not going to have the scope at 3 very often, would be my guess. I would think that you'd have it higher magnification because you're going to most likely be engaging distances at further yardage. And then, you know, if to get onto the 1X on that setup, on the Mark 12, it's a lot faster than dialing down from a magnification here. It's just a turn, right? A physical turn, not a turn of the magnification. I don't know, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, no, the first 10 power I was ever exposed to was like the original Unerdal that was on our M48 ones, and like, man, that thing, it got the job done in many ways, but it made it a little harder than it probably needed to be. And then, of course, with the advent of modern technology, man, like a 10 power scopes now are just so awesome. You know what I mean? But I'm with you, man. Like I understand that having an AR like this is not necessarily accurized, where like the Mark 12 barrel is going to be a heavier profile barrel. It's meant to take that 223 round, 5.56 round like further down range, right? Give you a little more velocity with the barrel being a little longer than 16-inch barrel. Are they comparable, like 500 and in? Like, are you going to get the same results? Yeah, probably. But beyond that, that's when I think you start to see the stark differences in between the two platforms. And then, of course, if your intent is to go beyond that, I would favor the 3-18 all day.
Yeah. I think everyone's different. Everyone's skill level is different. Everyone's even eyesight is different.
Right.
But I think in generalities, this is a 1 to 300 or 1 to 350 yard gun, very very easily, and this is a 3 to 600 yard gun very easily. So again, everyone's different. Everyone's skill set is different. Everyone's shooting.
I'd say that's pretty conservative. I'd say that's conservative.
Yeah. That's looking at that's taking into account most every shooter. I'd say.
Yeah.
Because it's always you have to check because I mean we're surrounded here at Vortex by like really good shooters who take 1x optics out to 600 yards.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
So it's, yeah,
I will say, I love the fact that an optic like the Razor 1 to 10 with a low end of 1 is in the conversation of mid-mag rifle scopes. Like let's think. I think we take that for granted.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
was not that many years ago when like, oh, a 1 to 4, that's pretty cool.
it
Yeah.
wasn't. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I
then-
don't even think a 1 to 8 is in this conversation. The fact that it goes up to 10, I don't know what it is magical. Maybe it's double digits, or something like that. But I think the
I
fact that
agree.
it goes up to 10, there's something very unique about, like, 10 power is this tipping point where you're like, oh yeah,
Ooh,
wow.
like
Well,
people start to like
I don't
take
know
a
if it's
step
more
back.
of-
Like,
I don't know if
oh,
it's a bit placebo or what, but it's
I kind of think of it as, your traditional hunting optic is a 3 to 9.
I was just
right?
going to say the
And-
exact
and
same
I,
thing.
And I would bet a lot of people would say a 3 to 9 is a mid power optic. And so
say,
once
yeah.
you go to 10, it's sort of like, well, now it's definitely in the conversation.
yeah.
And I don't know.
Well, there'd be a lot of people who would look at the Razor 1 to 10 and be like, I'd never put that on a hunting rifle.
but it'd be a fantastic hunting rifle.
it would be
optic.
great.
Yeah. Especially here in the Midwest, like that, this would be a fantastic hunting optic.
Mm-hmm. We do see it more and more, I'd say.
Yeah.
One to somethings on whitetail hunting guns.
Didn't Brennan have a 1 to 6 on his?
On his
hunting gun?
on his
What,
lever
a
gun.
1 to
Yeah.
6 on like his grandpa's old lever
Yeah.
gun, which I think is
Yeah.
great,
Yeah, that vid is definitely on Instagram, and it was one of our best videos. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I think when we went coyote hunting in Nebraska, isn't that what you had on your AR?
I did.
Yeah.
I had a 1 to 10. I tell you what, we had a perfect example of it. I remember we first spotted those coyotes after many days of trudging around in negative, like 50-degree with wind chill weather. We spotted coyotes at
Sounds
like
fun.
1,400 yards, and I could see them on 10 power, and then we called them in. They came running. We couldn't see them for a while, and next thing I knew, it popped up at 50 yards. And luckily, I was on like 3 power by that point because I figured it'd be close, and took the shot within 2 seconds of seeing the thing, and it was down. I mean,
Yep.
it's just like that. So, I mean, that is a perfect hunting example of where mid-mag reigns supreme. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But then you can take that same gun. You're like, oh, I went coyote hunting with it. Now I'm going to do this with it. I'm going to do that with
Yep.
it. Like if you
Yeah.
find yourself in some sort of interior environment, great. Crank it down to 1.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're both, fantastic optics. Both have a very specific role, but are also pretty versatile.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I like about it. You really, either of these setups, you could just pick it up and go into literally any environment and probably do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Like, are there things that might be better in specific situations? Yes. But if I'm going to pick one thing up for like all the things, it's going to be something like this.
If I'm either a department or or like just a dude with a budget and I need one optic to be able to cover all of the things, I'm definitely going here. I think.
Yeah. I think that's just it. I don't think we're surprising anybody by saying what we're saying right now, because I think that's what everybody goes into. Anything mid,
Yeah.
they go into it knowing, okay, there's going to be compromises. But you just have to be super, super honest with yourself in what you're actually going to do. And that, I mean, if everyone really was truly honest with themselves about what they're actually going to do with a certain, rifle or whatever it is, in this case, rifle we're talking about, there would be far, far, far more people with 3 to somethings, 2 to somethings, 4 to somethings, that mid-mag rifle scope. There'd be far more people with it. And I think it's funny because all the time we get to see the numbers. Generally speaking, within a family, like the Strike Eagle is a family of rifle scopes, we'll sell a lot of 1 to somethings of it, and we'll sell a ton of whatever is the highest. And then the ones in the middle, usually the numbers, I'm not saying that they're like it's a drop off a cliff, but usually it's the lowest. You look at it and you're like, the lowest number of optics was that one. And I think it's because people have, maybe it's a FOMO thing or whatever, but they're like, oh, if I get that, then I won't have 1 power, or I won't have 25 or 30 power, whatever it is. But it's pretty slick for just about everything.
Yeah, I think people in general are just like in one camp or the other, or want one extreme or the other. But if you like you said, if you stopped and took a very hard and honest look at what your application will be, I think something like a 3D18 is just like an ideal kind of like range where you're going to get a lot of usability for a lot of different and unique applications. You know what I mean? Over something that's super hot or something that's maybe a little too low.
Yeah.
Or fixed power, let's say.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean-
And, you know, not to get doomsday prepper on you, but like if you really take a
Please do.
honest like look at where you live and what kind of environment you're in, even, you know, like what's outside my front door.
Yep, the type
What
of
are,
shot
what are
that's
the
gonna be available
ranges
to you.
outside my
Yep.
front door? What are the type of shots that I would possibly take?
Yep.
I think you'd find that, hey, something in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
In that same vein, I mean, I don't live in a concrete jungle with high-rise apartments
Right.
everywhere where I'm going to have to be like, you know, every single move I make, I'm only going to be able to see 20 yards. You know what I mean? I don't live there. But in the Red Dawn, Doomsday, Zombie, whatever scenario, I'm going to want to be able to move around quite a lot and be
Yep.
pretty dynamic.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that's kind of another aspect to think about. So,
I mean, Charlotte isn't like the biggest city, but I mean, it's basically a concrete jungle. It's surrounded by wooded area.
yeah.
And even in and of itself had a lot of wooded area that surrounded a lot of the neighborhoods that we were in. And man, having something like this would have been really nice. You know what I mean? Like having the ability to maybe take something internal and inside a building that I can cover long, like I mentioned before, but then also like go through like a wooded movement and have to cover something at distance.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, again, if I was, you know, budget conscious, I think just picking one optic that would get the job done for me, I would absolutely go for something in the 3D18 for sure.
Well, I'd imagine. I mean, I've never had a job where things like that were my job, but we've talked about it before on the podcast as far as the target ID element too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
That's given you
100%. Yep.
an advantage there as well.
Yep. To be able to ID at distance, like, you know, is this guy holding a wallet, or, you know, are they pointing a gun at me? You know what I mean? Or at my team, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Facial expression.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
the
way?
demeanor.
Which way
Sure.
does
Do
the
they,
door
like, cook
open?
down?
Does it
Right,
open
right.
left
Hinges.
or right?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like this is the urban and this is the suburban optic.
Mm.
Boom,
Look at you.
done. And the 5 to 25 can be the rural, whatever.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like the
Oh,
country.
yeah.
Country boy.
Yeah, you out there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
The optic for the burbs. For the suburban rifleman.
The suburban rifleman. I like that.
I love it.
Very fitting.
Did we miss anything
The
on these
Uper.
guys? They're just so...
The Uper. Honestly, the UP would be great up there.
Yeah. Is that going to be in the thumbnail for this video? The UPR?
Hard to say. Hard to say.
I'm just going to throw that. I'm
somebody
going to throw that
actually
in the
has-
hat, though.
Doesn't somebody actually have the UPR? Isn't that a gun or like a rail system or something like that?
That's the
Oh, the
URL.
UBR. I'm thinking of the UBR.
UBR,
It's a
yeah,
stock.
yeah, yeah.
the Magpul stock.
I
It's
think
good stock.
UPR. We need to look into
I bet
this, man.
Magpul would have UPR. It's notably different.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Trademark. Patent.
I
Boom.
think I also
Mark it.
I will say, as a person who is a transplant, and if you're outside of the Midwest, like, you're not going to know what a Uper is.
Come on. You don't think so?
No way.
Uper?
I knew a guy when I lived in Nebraska. He was like from that neck of the woods, and he would always bring. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, dude?
Really?
Yeah, that wouldn't be like a universal thing. You would know. Explain it.
A Uper, UP is the Upper Peninsula.
Right.
Which is technically Michigan, which we won't fault them for up there because they are connected to Wisconsin. It's sort of like they wanted to secede from Michigan. Michigan wouldn't let go, but they're like, we're going to chill with the Wisconsinites over here. But usually, I mean, just generally, anybody up there is a Uper, and you can usually tell by their various lifestyle choices and their accents and their food preferences. I mean, just about anything. It's
a regional thing.
it's a regional thing.
But yeah,
They're great.
the Upper Peninsula of that's what it refers
Probably
to.
than some of the nicest people you ever meet.
Would you call it a vibe?
I also would.
Ooh.
I'd say it's
Vibe
it's a
check.
vibe.
Okay.
Usually, when you call some, I don't know. I like people from the UP. I think they would enjoy being called nice, but I also think that they would enjoy us clarifying that they're not exactly the type of people that you want to just roll in there and be like, "Hey, I heard that you guys are really nice," because you wouldn't also want to mess with a Uper.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to surprise them.
You don't want to surprise them.
So there you go.
I didn't want to.
I just wanted to offer some clarification.
I didn't want to do like an impersonation,
Right,
because then it would be bad, and somebody would get mad at me, and that's the thing. I don't want to have Yoopers. I don't want to have a bunch of Yoopers mad at me.
Yeah, that would be good.
But the Yoopers should check out the UPR, the Universal Purpose Rifle.
That's right.
There you go.
The Youper.
We've changed it. It's universal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Might be a little too late to
If only
impact the packaging.
If only all season tires were as good as this.
Yeah.
This is way better than all season.
This is
tires.
so much
for
better.
sure.
This is so much better.
Way more fun than
One
all
of the
season
few
tires, too.
universal things that actually works.
Well, I would say another advantage is, like, personally, like, I find the more you run, like, a gun, the more familiar you get with that gun, and you just get good at shooting that gun.
Yeah,
And this, you'd be able to run one gun for, like, a lot of things.
it's true.
It would also be.
I hate recommending that, though, because I never want to recommend that a person buys less guns, because that's no fun either.
Yeah, get more guns.
Buy as many
guns.
guns as you want. I mean, buy as many guns as you can fit in your house. But then at the same time, you can have a favorite.
Yeah, okay.
I have,
Or go to, if you will.
go
Yeah.
to maybe.
Yeah, maybe that's
Yeah.
because, like, I don't want. I also in the same, but like, I don't want to discount, like, we're like, oh yeah, the 6-36. That's awesome for what it does too.
The 6-36 became a 6-36 because of like a lot of customer input in wanting 6-36 for that specific application.
So I feel like we're like been kind of like down talk magnification, but like everything. That's why there's a lot, because
Options. There's flavor
we're
of
in
life.
marketing. We're trying to talk about a new product right now, so we need to really talk it up.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. So by
But we're
this,
not we're not actually blowing smoke. It's real.
Yeah.
It's real to me, damn it.
But then again, a little side thing here is if you're not familiar with reading a reticle or dialing or learning how to adjust for mils or MOA, this would be a great scope to learn that on too, because the magnification range isn't huge. You're going to be able to use it on pretty much any gun, and the exposed elevation turret will definitely help you and make it easier to learn kind of dialing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like, we talked that it's got capped windage, which I love. I'm never going to dial wind in the field.
True, Dad.
But it's an exposed locking elevation turret. But, like, I don't want to use the term squatty. But, like, it's not huge at the same time. And I like it's just enough, boom, you can get good purchase. The clicks are firm and tactile. And, like, I don't know. Like, to me, it's just, like, ergonomically, it's, like, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as high as the adjustment,
lever.
the throw lever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean,
Yeah, and if you were to piggyback like a red dot on this front ring, it'd be fine. You'd be able to
It would
put
sit
it
right
on.
above it.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, how have we not mentioned this yet, since we are talking about, well, I mean, we've been talking about a category, we've brought the scope into it, but I just got to say that, and I mean, yeah, I work at Vortex, but the optics on the 3-18, special.
Very.
The optical quality, and like, people who are thinking about this, they're going to think about price. And a lot of times we try not to talk about price because it can all of a sudden just create this image in your head of like, oh, it's that price, so I'm just going to associate it with this quality level or something like that, right? But
or even the name, I think. I mean, or what
whatever
family
it is,
it's in.
you got to look at every rifle scope independently of all others, even within the same family. And I think the Strike Eagle offers like such good rifle scopes at each perspective, magnification range and application and all that. But each optical system is very unique. There's nothing in this rifle scope, as far as the optical system goes, that is, exactly, they just ripped it right out of one and stuffed it in the other, right? It's been very uniquely designed. So, and it's fantastic. The image quality, so good. It's very bright. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think backing up on your statement is if you're in the market for an optic, go look at it. Just period.
Right?
Like, go look through it. Go look through a bunch of different ones. Go look and compare. Don't take someone's, listen to people who know more things, but it's going to be fit for you in your eyes. So go actually look at it.
Heck yeah. And one of the beauties of, and this is a shameless Vortex edge plug, but like if you're taking a class with us and you want to see or look through it or or even get some rounds on it, like ask the instructors. You know what I mean? Like ask us, like, hey, you know, I'm interested in the 318. Is there any way I can look at one, or maybe shoot some rounds to it? We would be more than happy to do that for you. You know what I mean? Or let you run a drill or two, or an iteration of a part of the class with this stuff, and you know, make your own informed decision. You know what I mean?
This would do great at our long-range pipeline.
Oh, 100%.
That we do outdoors, and you'd be able to complete the whole class, no problem. And if you want to come out and take a class, you could hit us up ahead of time. We might be able to help you set something up and try that out, because we have a lot of these 3-18s down there at the range. So we might be able to set something up for you to try it out, get some great instruction, and learning on how to shoot at distance and try something out.
I want to come take the long-range pipeline with this boy.
You should.
Yeah.
That'd
You
fit in
should
as well.
do that. Yes.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
Also, I'm going to shoot it a lot, probably.
You can shoot it whenever you want.
Yeah, I'm going to shoot it.
Which one is that again, Liam?
This is the Delta 5 Pro in 16 inches 308.
Very nice.
It's a Pro. Is that?
That's that. I think we covered it.
I think we did.
Need something to do all the things really good?
Boom.
This thing.
Look to the mid-mag category. All right.
I'm a fan.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Jim, thank you for joining me. Gentlemen,
It's been a while.
Chris, Liam,
Yep.
thanks for being here and all the great knowledge. And, look at Mid-Mag Riflescopes, not like all-season tires,
No, they're not.
because they're great.
I think
They're great at a lot of things.
Yeah.
it's true. I feel like we've made that point pretty well now.
Yeah.
I just wanted to,
No, I
can
mean,
just drive
I
it in.
like, it's more, I'm just consoling myself. Like, I feel like
Sometimes
I'm trying to tell myself that it's okay.
you try to articulate something, and then you're like, you're working it through in your head as it's coming out of your mouth, and then sometimes, you just kind of
You
get
did
ahead of
mention
yourself.
cars, so that was good.
Yeah. Some people are like, why'd you bring him back?
Yep.
Sick of this.
That's probably the only comments we're gonna. Not about the glass. Now,
No.
nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow,
Give,
dude.
uh,
like minute
that
so
guy
and so. So
sucks.
like car
Yeah.
reference, really.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Give Mid-Mag Optics a chance.
Yeah,
you know,
dude.
check them out.
Yeah, man.
Because they could
Pretty
be
rowdy.
exactly what you're looking for.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments. Until next time, happy hunting and shooting.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
There you have it, folks. Thank you very much for listening. As usual, give this video a like if you liked it, comment something below, and give us a subscribe to the Vortex Nation podcast channel. It would mean a lot to us. Also, why don't you give us a follow over on Instagram while you're at it, at Vortex Nation Podcast. We'd love to hear from you over there, and we'll keep you updated with all kinds of cool photos and videos from our adventures that we do here. Otherwise, we will see you on the next one. Thank you again. Happy hunting and shooting, everybody. Have a good one.